Hi everybody, John Brown here, doing a review of Trajan, the game I believe I currently have ranked as my number 2 game. Why not my number 1 game? I don't own it. Reprint El Grande. This is my second attempt at filming it because even though YouTube has told me I can put up videos of over 15 minutes, apparently iMovie isn't letting me. So I'll have to figure that out. But instead of editing down, we'll try again and try to go a little quicker. I'm not going to cover all the rules. But try to give you a basic idea of how to play the game. Trajan is kind of themed around being an administrator in Rome, I guess. Personally, I don't think the game has a lot of theme. People have tried to argue that it does. It doesn't really matter to me. It's one of my favorite games. I think the theme works for the game, though, and that's pretty important. So this game has one of my favorite action selection, probably my favorite action selection mechanism in any game. And it's definitely one of Stefan Feld games that has a term called point salad, if you haven't heard that before, where there's lots of ways to get points. But let's see how it works. Okay, here we have the cover art. Maybe not the friendliest cover art in the world, but better than Kalis. We have a total of 4 player boards. We can play 2 to 4 players, so if you have a 5-player group, sorry you're out of luck here, but if you have 4, it's great. Extra player pieces, a bag we draw endgame scoring bonus tiles out of. The Plano box did not come with the game, that's mine, but it really helps with setup. Setup in this game isn't too difficult, but there's a little bit to it, and this definitely helps with it. The rulebook is actually pretty well written and surprisingly short for this deep of a game. Commodity cards, year trackers, people's needs, the board with all the chits, and so lots of things going on here, and this action selection mechanism is what I was talking about. On your turn, you're basically going to take everything from one of your bowls or whatever it is, and then move each one successively in one space. You can determine how you want to move them. So if I have a bunch of things in one space, I recommend placing them around like this, not actually putting them into the bins, so that way you can determine what colors you want to go to which spaces. Why is that important? Well, the name of the game is Trajan, and completing these Trajan tiles by being good administrators will give us bonuses. So, but basically, whichever one I end up in, so this is the last space I went to, then this is the action I'm going to take, a Senate action. So what do all these actions do? Let's actually go to the game board to see how that works. Up top, we have the military. So as an action, we can take our leader and put it in the space adjacent to where he is and get the tile there. As an action, we can take one of our soldiers and put him in a space where the leader is. We get that number of victory points. We can't go to the same spot twice. We can go to a spot someone else has been, but we get less points. And we can also take a guy from our player board and basically put him into the military so he can be placed. Building buildings, that was from when I was filming earlier, I have to reset it, but when you build a building, well, you can either place a guy as a building action into the builder's hall basically, or go out. I already took some buildings off from where I was before, but basically go to a spot, build a building, and yeah, I already have them on my tile here, so let's put one of them back. And basically, whenever you build, you have to go to an adjacent spot. You get the number of victory points here. If you go to a spot and it is your first of that tile, you also get the bonus action listed below, but only the first time you take that type of building. In the form here, we basically take one of these tiles. So these will help us meet the people's needs. This is kind of a wild card in meeting the people's needs, and we'll get to what that means in a minute. This is more votes in the Senate. We'll do that next. And these are extra actions that come down on this board. So I already have an extra building action here, and let's ignore this for now. But basically, if I were to take a building action, I can then trade in this tile and take a second building action if I have one of those. So, we said we do the Senate. So each player is going to have a marker on here. Every time they take a Senate action, they move up one space. They get that number of victory points. And at the end of the round, that many votes in the Senate. There are also these tiles that will give you more votes at the end of the round. So as you move up, you get more and more points and more votes. What do we use those votes for? Well, whoever has the most votes chooses one of these tiles to get us more points at the end of the game. So 3 points for each of these commodities, 2 points for every military person we have out in the provinces. Now, whoever wins will select one of these. The loser will get the leftover one. So if the winner selects this, the loser gets this one, but they flip it over. And instead of 2 points for the military, there's just 1 point for each guy out in provinces. Oh, shipping, let's do that. We can get more shipping cards as an action. And we can also put cards down in our tableau or actually ship cards. If we ship, for example, this ship will give us points for cards that are not the same. If we just play one card, 2 points. If we play 2 different ones, 3 different ones, or up to 4 different ones, up to 8 points. This is the next higher one. We can get 5 points for 1 pair, 10 points for 2 pair, 15 for 3 pair. Or this is having the same commodity, up to 4 of the same commodity, getting 20 points. If we were to ship this, we would get 20 points instantly and flip the ship over. So if anyone else wants to, during the same year, take that shipping action, they will get less points for doing the same thing. Now let's talk about the Trajan Tiles. If I were to take a Trajan Tile as an action, I put it on my board wherever my arch is, and I move my arch to the next open space that does not have a Trajan Tile on it. So, how do Trajan Tiles work? Well, let's get to that now. So let's say we had a setup, where, let's make this a real simple, ideal one here. So, this is my setup at the beginning of a turn, and as an action, I wanted to take a building action. Well, I could move from here into here, but I think it's the only space that would let me do that. Now, when I land on a space to take that action, not if it's a space before when I move stuff in, but if I'm actually taking the action, and I have at least a blue and a green in there, I instantly fulfill this. So this Trajan Tile basically gives me 5 points, and lets me take one of my guys and put him in to the builder's hall, basically. So that will trigger instantly. And in addition to that, let's go down here. I have a bonus tile right here to let me do an extra action. So let's set up a different example instead, so we see what some of the different Trajan Tiles do. If this was a Trajan Tile we had in there instead, this also would work because we have a green and a white, and this would give us the +2 action. So we would trigger it, we'd get 4 points, this would go away, and here's where our +2 marker comes in. We can place it anywhere on the board. We'll place it on our building action. Let's say we still had that building tile. So now we get to take 1 action for landing there, a 2nd action if we trade in our tile, but instead of that being worth 1 additional action, it is worth 2. These tiles go away if we use one, these bonuses do not. So this tile will go away, and we'll get 2 bonus actions. So we will actually get 3 building actions. So I could, let's say, take 2 of my guys as 2 actions and put them in here. I could, now as a 3rd action, go and build this building. I'll get 3 points, and then I place it where it goes. Well, I'll place it here, and again, like I said, whenever we place the first type of a building, we get that action for free. So I can now take a shipping action. So in 1 turn, if I had the building bonus tile ready to go, I then earned the +2 bonus. I now took 3 building actions and 1 shipping action in 1 turn. And that's one of my favorite parts of the game, being able to set up those big moves. Let's talk about this. This is very important down here for a 2, 3, or 4 player game. Every time I move these spaces, so if I were to basically take this as my action, then I would move that marker once. If I move these as my action, I'm moving 4 things around the board, so I would move this 4 times. Just as a helpful hint, this is the thing that's the easiest to forget about in the game, but it's very important. Why is it important? Because every time I wrap around to here, I can go past it, but every time I hit this spot, I reveal one of the needs of the people. So for example here, this is a religion tile. Let's say in the 2nd round of the 1st year, we go around, we reveal another one, another religion tile, and we would go around one more time, and we reveal entertainment in the form of games. Are you not entertained? I didn't actually say that the first time, but I decided to this time. Okay, so now we will have one more round, a 4th round, and now we know what all the needs are going to be for this year. So, after the 4th round, we now have to meet these needs. How do we do that? Well, if we have a Trajan tile that we've completed, this stays on the board for the rest of the game, and every round it'll give us one of that need. Maybe that need won't come up this round, which actually didn't in this round, but we could use it. Let's say there were 2 food that were out. We could use this to fulfill 1, but we would need a food from somewhere else on the board, like this temporary tile, for example. And if 2 food needs came up that round, we could trade 1 in for 1, or save it if there's only 1, and then use this for 1. So food needs are important, or well, all 3 of the needs are important. If we do not fulfill the people's needs, then there are, of course, repercussions. If we have one unmet need out of the 3, we lose 4 points. If we have 2 unmet needs, we lose 9. If we have 3 unmet needs, we lose 15. So, you can't just go around the board and do whatever you want. So losing that 15 points can be huge. You can make a choice, maybe, oh, I only have 1 unmet need, not a big deal. But one thing you can keep track of is, oh, on my turn, I can get my 3rd need, but I can finish this and stop other people, maybe even have somebody to miss 2 or even 3 needs. So the pacing of what moves that you want to do, maybe you don't want to do the most efficient move this round, because, and this is really one of the ways you can affect other people, is by taking their last option, because this is random what's going to be out there in different rounds. I believe this resets every round. Empty spaces up here will get filled, but spaces that have a guy in them do not. So you can block people from meeting needs, or you can hurry up or slow down the round depending on what suits you. We have some bonus scoring at the end of the game after 4 years. Cards in the hand, workers in the camp, military camp, Trajan Tiles on the board, so those are small bonuses. But here, remember how I told you before that you can get more actions for taking buildings that you haven't taken yet? You also get big bonus points at the end of the game. So here's one of those wild building tokens I was talking about, but 3 of a kind give you 10 points. 4 of a kind give you 20. So you have to balance. Taking buildings you haven't taken yet give you more actions, but taking the same building over and over gives you lots of points. So, and then we got all these different bonus tiles like we said before. So, all of these things come together to help for end of game scoring. There can be some pretty big swings at the end depending on what people have done. And after 4 of years, here's the year markers here, we declare a winner. So what's potentially not good about Trajan? Like I said, the theme isn't the strongest. This isn't a game that you're necessarily going to tell a great story about. But I think the game works with the mechanisms, so it doesn't really bother me. There's a degree of multiplayer solitaire, some people would argue, and I would agree with that, again, to a degree. There is some interaction in potentially blocking people from spots, blocking people from meeting needs, hurrying up or slowing down the rounds, but you are left, for the most part, to do what you want. What do I love about the game? Building up those huge combos is really fun. Every strategy is viable as far as I've seen. This is one of the games I've played the most out of any game. I've played it with a lot of people. I've seen a lot of strategies, and I've seen many different strategies win. I've seen a focus on shipping, I've seen a focus on Senate, I've seen a focus on military. You can split up what you do and try to do everything decently. You can try to meet all the people's needs and not lose any points. You can say, 4 points here, 9 points here, not a big deal. 15 is always going to be a big deal. But if you're getting enough points, then maybe meeting those needs isn't always a huge priority. So there's a lot of variance, and here's the thing, if you like really thematic, if you like games where you tell a story, you like games where you're in each other's face, you might not like this. I'm somebody, if you look at my top 10, I think I've got Heroescape and Descent and games like this. I enjoy those, a game of Heroescape with my son is very different than a game of this. I enjoy those games for different reasons. If this isn't the sort of game you enjoy, you're not going to enjoy this one. It doesn't really do anything that drastically different from other Euro games. It's a heavy Euro game, not the heaviest though. The rulebook is surprisingly thin for how deep this game is. It's a lot of information at first, but definitely a game that maybe not even after the first round, but after the first year of playing, let's say, for the first time, you'll get a pretty good idea of what you're doing. You might not always know what the most efficient move is, but the mechanisms themselves aren't that complicated once you understand what each action does. So if this is the sort of thing that appeals to you, I highly recommend it. I give this game a solid A. Why not an A+? Well, I've never given a game a 10 on Board Game Geek. I'm not saying I never will. If I play a game that I like more than El Grande, I will. But for now, it's one of the few games I've given a 9 to. So if slightly heavy Euro games are your thing, I highly recommend this game. If you're just getting into gaming, maybe hold off a little bit. Try some other things first. And but if this is your sort of thing, I love this game. What else can I say? That's why I wanted to review it. So thanks a lot for watching, and hopefully we'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.